Brewers are trying to avoid fines for roughing the passer, and Ndamukong Suh has other ideas, practicing taking down the quarterback by any means necessary. That is how you rack up $620,000 in fines over the course of your career.
All offseason, everyone was worried, how are the Rams going to get along? And Ndamukong Suh is finally having some fun.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, he's on social media. Like, he's having the time of his... I'm glad to see that. That's good, because he spoiled one of my Thanksgiving when he stomped the guy. So now I'm glad he can laugh about it.
And see, those tackling dummies are a little heavier than I think the general public thinks. Like, they're not... It's not that they're inflated with air.
No, absolutely not.
And so
it's weighted.
It's weighted at the bottom. So when you see the force he hit that thing with, I mean, that's a scary dude, man.
Yeah, Ndamukong Suh, he's for real. He's for real.
All right, it's time for stories to start your morning. The Brewers took Game 1 from the Rockies last night behind a walk-off single from Mike Moustakas in the 10th inning. Game 2 coverage begins at 3:30 today on FS1. Nick, how impressed were you with the Brewers?
But this Christian Yelich guy is unbelievable.
Unreal.
He has an OPS of 1,800 on their 8-game winning streak to get them into the NLDS. And then the top of the third, bottom of the third, pardon me, 2-run home run. That's the only scoring we have until the 9th inning. And who scored on that? Moustakas walk-off. Yelich. After drawing a walk. He has been amazing.
I talk about that swing. It reminds me of Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, with no effort, he lifts that ball to left center field. And then, Nick, in the 9th inning, I could have swore the Rockies were going to just steal this game.
I thought they were, too.
I mean, it was pretty uneventful. And then at the 9th inning, Rockies had a chance to be able to steal it. I thought they were going to take Game 1.
Absolutely. Brewers getting out of that 9th inning with tied. They were able to close it late. But, yeah, it looked like the Rockies had it.
All right, action continues today. Moving on to college football now. Red River Showdown, Texas taking on Oklahoma. Tom Herman trying to take down Kyler Murray and that high-powered Oklahoma offense. CC, what do you expect in this one?
Texas gets off to a rough start to the season, losing their first game. They've gained some momentum in the last 4 games. They got to create some turnovers. They got to be able to force Murray into making some turnovers to give their offense extra possessions. It's a momentum game, rivalry games, not only college rivalries, but a lot of these rivalries for these kids, they go against each other in high school. So this is a spirited, I'm not looking forward to this one, starting early Saturday morning.
Kyler Murray's been one of, if not the best player in college football this year, but this is a very interesting opportunity for the University of Texas. If you look at Tom Herman's career, even dating back to the University of Houston, he does lose some games he shouldn't, but as an underdog, he was outstanding at the University of Houston. Some of his biggest wins at Texas have come in that setting. They're touchdown underdogs to their hated rival.
Also, I think 29 NFL teams went to Oklahoma this offseason to find out how Lincoln Riley runs that offense. So, big influence on the NFL college football. Oklahoma, the biggest.
All right, speaking of the NFL, let's move on to Aaron Rodgers. He was not happy with his offense last weekend after they only scored 22 points against a bad Buffalo team. They'll try and get the offense up and running again against the Fighting Matt Patricias on Sunday. Packers and Lions. Nick, do you expect the Packers offense to get back on track?
I do, and they need to. Like, this is their path through the NFC is Aaron Rodgers getting back near the top of these quarterback lists as far as statistical production. Like, I looked at his numbers last night, and in a normal year, he's having a good year. But in 2018,
right,
he's middle of the pack in everything. If Aaron Rodgers is middle of the pack production-wise, the Packers have no path to being a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, I wouldn't be concerned as a couple weeks ago when Aaron wasn't practicing. But I am concerned most of the wide receivers aren't practicing. So it's hard to develop continuity with this different group of wide receivers with most of them, 3 of their top 4, missing practice time. So this is a game. Watch out for the Lions at home. They won 1 win. That's against the Pats. I look for them to try to get to 2 and 3 with a win. Upset the Packers in this one.
All right, finally, Baker Mayfield has big weekend plans coming off a 300-yard performance last week, one that also included 4 turnovers. He'll try to autocorrect this week as he makes his first ever home start, taking on the 3-1 Ravens. When asked about Baker, Ravens defensive coordinator Don Wink Martindale compared him to some of the best to ever play the game.
I think Baker Mayfield's this generation's of Brett Favre or John Elway, if you will. I mean, this guy knows where he wants to go with the ball, and he's very accurate. He has a quick release, and he's really playing well. So, you know, obviously he's playing well. They scored 42 points, you know, last week against Oakland, and they're, you know, in the top 5 and 10 scoring offense. So, you know, I think that he's done a nice job filling in, and it seems like they have more rhythm with him as a rookie every play that he's in there.
So apparently the in thing this year is to compare all the current playing quarterbacks to Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Yeah. No, it's a good no. You see that. I haven't seen the people that are coaching this game and executives of this game excited about a young group of quarterbacks like the 5 quarterbacks that we've seen, 4 of them starting for the team. So that's a good point by you. Man, we don't normally see that.
And it's just real quick to elaborate on it. It matters who's saying these things. It's not the anonymous scout. It's not the former GM turned media guy typically. I know Bill Polian is that, but Bill Polian's also Hall of Famer who was a GM for 25 plus years, and it's on the record coaches. Like it's guys that are in the league, because guys that are in the league are usually very, very hesitant to anoint anybody the next thing. So I think you have to take those comments more seriously than sometimes the anonymous scout you read in the...
All right, so if we all agree they're not inflated comments, who does Baker Mayfield remind you of? Either a guy you've played with, a guy you remember, a Hall of Famer that really knew how to play the game?
I mean, this is the thing with Baker. He was so good in college, and we just normally don't see in transfer what guys are able to do in college, especially playing in those systems. In the Big 12, we've seen this, the Pac-12, we've seen guys rack up huge numbers and then not be able to transfer that to the NFL. But Baker, he has rare skills. Like even though he's undersized, man, he's very, very accurate with the football. Like we believe he can be just as good as when he won the Heisman Trophy. We've seen Heisman Trophy winners struggle in the NFL, but he's so accurate. He has great leadership skills. And I believe that Cleveland, they're putting some of the right parts around him to be able to support him as an organization. They're going to have the right system with Todd Haley as a quality offensive coordinator. So his skill level, he's accurate with the football. Man, he's got a fastball. He's also got a changeup. So he can vary his speeds, but ultimately, I told Nick, man, there's certain guys, man, they're just meant to play this game and play it at a high level. And that Baker Mayfield, sometimes you can't equate to one thing. He has it.
I got some pushback from a buddy of mine recently because he made fun of me because it's been 6 quarters, and I went on television and I called Baker Mayfield a star. And I say, he's a star right now, and he's going to be a star. And my rebuttal was, show me at one point he wasn't. Show me at one point in Baker Mayfield's even young adult football life that he did not exceed all expectations and that he did not walk on the field as the best guy out there, or at least believing credibly he was the best guy out there. He's a 3-time Heisman Trophy finalist. I bring it up all the time, but I think it matters. He broke his own record on college football efficiency, and he took over a Browns offense that was restricted, that seemed to be just scuttling along with Tyrod Taylor, and they scored 42 points in his first start, granted against a bad Raiders defense. Like, I think these comparisons are legitimate. I do think Baker Mayfield is one of the sure things in the league right now. Now, he's got a tough test. That Ravens defense is very good, and they have Jimmy Smith coming back after his suspension. So it's a very tough test this week and a very important game for Cleveland.
All right, let's move on to another game. The showdown in Texas, 2-2 Cowboys taking on the 1-3 Houston Texans. Ezekiel Elliott coming off his best game of the season, where he had 240 total yards and a touchdown. You see, that's what happens when you let the best player on your team be the best player on your team. So why are the Cowboys worried about these struggling Texans? We'll let Dick Prescott tell you.
His name, they've got Pro Bowl guys on that defense and guys that can affect the game and win the game themselves. So when you have guys like that, you just got to count for them, have a plan for them, and we have that.
All right, Steve, what are you looking for in this matchup Sunday night?
Texans have been as far as coverage. So for the Dallas Cowboys, Nick told me this. He was like, don't trust your instincts. Don't trust yourself. Run the football. Don't look at the numbers. The number guy. The guy that's doing our stats and everything. Don't go to the numbers. We couldn't have a show if we didn't go to the numbers. He's telling Dallas, run the football against us. Shorten the game. Stick to your strength. exactly like you said. Don't wait till after the game, look at the stat sheet and discover, I didn't get a ball to my best player. No, give it to him. Go your strength against their strength, because what you believe is their weakness still might be stronger than your weakness as far as the passing game. But, Nick, even as much as they run the ball, which they should do with Zeke, can you do this for me, Cowboys? Can you throw the ball one time a quarter deep?
Oh,
not twice.
You restricted it. Last week you asked for twice a quarter. Yeah. Now you just want once a quarter.
Because, I mean, if people aren't going to do what why should I get on here and be like, hey, can you throw the ball twice? I can show film. NFL teams break down 4 weeks. I used to tell my coordinators, forget that. Just once. All right? Make the defense back up one time a quarter. But, man, Zeke's got to touch it 25 times.
Yes.
And I need 20 rushes. I know I'm not going for 15 rushes, 10 catches. No, I need 20 rushes, because that's going to shorten up that clock. You don't want J.J. Watt. You don't want Clowney. Right now, I think last week's game was the best game I've seen them since they've played. They've been on the squad a long time together, both of them, but playing at a high level, I think last week's game was the best that I saw them play.
And J.J. Watt had 3 sacks 2 weeks ago against the Giants, and he had 2 sacks last week. All of a sudden, he's got 5. That's second in the league.
Yeah, AFC Defensive Player of the Week. A lot of people, because they're not winning, he's not getting that attention. But J.J. Watt is as close as we've seen to the MVP, J.J. Watt.
So I want to talk. I think you covered the offense, because I totally agree with that. But I said J.J.'s second in the league in sacks. I want to talk about the guy who's first in the league in sacks. DeMarcus Lawrence. He plays for the Dallas Cowboys, too. And the Texans have the worst offensive line in football. If you can go into this game, if you're Dallas, relying on Zeke, because I think the Texans' run defense numbers are actually inflated. I think one of the reasons they have this gaudy run defense is because everyone can throw against them, so why run the ball? If you have a good quarterback.
It's as if someone was giving you FedEx for free.
Yes. You're not going to use the U.S. Postal Service. You're going to just go ahead. And so, I think for Houston, it looks like they're better against the run than they are. Now, they are better against the run than the pass, but it's not that big of a discrepancy. But I think the Cowboys can get them on the ground, and on the other side of the ball, I think DeMarcus Lawrence can wreck this game. I think DeMarcus Lawrence, as escapable as Deshaun Watson is, I think the Cowboys go into this game with the best offensive player, Ezekiel Elliott, and the guy right now, with respect to J.J. Watt and Clowney, the defensive player who, even if he's not the best, the guy who has the ability to make the biggest impact. Because he's not running against Tyron Smith or Zach Martin or the Cowboys' offensive line. And so I think DeMarcus Lawrence is the key to this game for Dallas.
Good point. How important is it to keep Deshaun Watson in the pocket on Sunday?
I believe it's important, because Dallas has kind of struggled on the back end, especially at one corner spot, and they're going to try to help him out. You don't want to play too much man-to-man, because if you got your back to the quarterback, then he's running out of the pocket. You want to know where he is. So Dallas, not only Lawrence on the outside, they got to make sure that guys are very, very disciplined in their pass lanes inside, because you want to keep him in the pocket. You don't want him to break down the defense. We know that Dallas can force him into some turnovers, and you're going to be able to force him into more turnovers in the pocket. So you got to be disciplined as far as trying to get to the quarterback. You rush him, but you rush with a little bit of caution, keeping eyes on him, trying to keep him in a certain part of the field.
And people should know, Deshaun Watson, week 1, the big nationally televised game against the Pats, he was bad. He didn't look anything like the Deshaun Watson of last year. Since then, he's looked a lot closer to the Deshaun Watson of last year. And last week, the Texans ran an offense similar to last year's offense for the first time all year. They have a new wide receiver, a rookie. I'm going to mispronounce his last name, but Kiki Kute, who in his first game ever as a pro last week had 11 catches, I think the most in 10 years in your first NFL game. So they've got weapons offensively on the outside. You mentioned forcing turnovers. That is something this Cowboys defense has not done all year. Dead last in the league in forced turnovers. The Texans will turn the ball over. The Cowboys, if they're going to win this game, which I think they can, they have to win the turnover battle, which is something they've struggled with all year long.
Dead last, nowhere to go but up.
Yep.
Coming up, how will Patrick Mahomes handle a nasty Jags defense? That is next on First Things First.
I get that pronunciation right, Dusty? I didn't? Kiki Kute? I mean, that's how it's spelled.